If the word Medicare makes your eyes glaze over, you're not alone. But understanding it is essential. From prescription coverage to hospital bills to making sure your loved one has what they need, Medicare plays a huge role in your caregiving journey. Today, we're joined by a Medicare expert who will break down the basics, bust some myths, and help you feel more confident navigating this complex system for your parents or even for yourself.
So today we're going to be talking about Medicare, and that's one that's it's always really tricky for us. I think we've talked before, like we sometimes have to go, okay, are we talking about Medicare? Are we talking about Medicaid? Today we're talking about Medicare. That's the one for older adults, and we'll learn a lot more about it in a second here. But Melody, this is one that like drives me nuts. Every year, I work on the mail for my uncle, and I get that big old book. And that is one where I immediately call my mom and go, the Medicare book came. You got to figure this out because I know nothing.
Sounds intimidating.
So we're so glad today that we have Diane Finnestead here to talk a little bit about Medicare, and she is a Medicare genius. So Diane, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Diane, who are you caring for?
Well, I would say that I have been a caregiver for both my parents, who have now passed. Mom passed about 8 years ago, and she had a multitude of ailments, and we never really knew what was ailing her. We just knew that she was not feeling good and struggled a lot. My dad was her main caregiver. And then we, as children, we supported that. And then a little while later, Dad got ill. And so Dad passed about a year ago. And what happened was he lost the strength in his legs. And so he needed to have rehabilitation. And then he suffered a fatal fall. And so I was the caregiver for him, as well as my sister and brother. And then we also had help, thank goodness, because Dad had some insurance policies that I'm very passionate about having. If you can afford them, you should have them. And of course, he had Medicare as well. So so that's who I have cared for. And it was about a couple of years ago, I wrote a book, a chapter in an anthology called Who Will Hold My Hand? It was part of the Deconstructing Grit series. And it was in their first book called Growth. And I knew that I wanted to kind of tackle the topic of being a caregiver. And so my chapter was dedicated to my mom and also my now husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, Eddie Ellis. So my official name is Diane Finnestead-Ellis.
I was going to say, I realized as soon as I said it, I did not introduce her, and she just got married.
Yeah, it's a little long of a name.
But it's a great name.
But I love it because I'm the only one in the whole wide world with that name.
And you actually wore your wedding dress to our Timeless Elegance fashion show. You were the bride of the fashion show.
Yes, I was so excited to be the bride. It's not very often that you get to wear your wedding dress, more than once in your life.
Definitely.
But somehow y'all made it possible. So, and my friends here in St. Louis got to see me in my dress, which I didn't even know they were going to be there, supporting the whole movement of voice. And there they were. And I just immediately, I was on the roadway crying. And then my friend, he started playing the music, going to the chapel. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, stop it. This is like a movie moment.
That's so fun.
It was a great day.
It was awesome. So I hope the next bride next year, will let me go ahead and sponsor her. So whoever that may be.
So if you're out there listening, your model sign-up's happening soon. So
Oh,
keep your
yeah.
eyes out for that. Okay, Medicare open enrollment is happening actually very soon. What is that?
So open enrollment occurs every year in America. On October 1st, all of the brokers and agents, anyone who's licensed to sell Medicare, and oh my goodness, just getting ready for that is an ordeal, you guys. Oh my gosh. We have to, if you're a broker, you have to get every single company that you want to represent. You have to go through their tests, and then you go through an AHIP test, which is through the Centers of Medicare, or you go through another test in addition to that test, and that's through NABIP, the National Association of Benefits and Insurance Professionals. So we all have to get all this testing and
gosh.
licensing, and then the person, usually you have one in an office that will brag and say, I've got them all. Here's all of my licenses. Here's all of my certifications. And then we're all going, we got to get it together. But by October 1st, we usually across America, everybody has their licenses. They're ready to go. They're ready to talk, because during the summer, we go to all these different conferences to learn about the changes coming up for Medicare. And so we can inform our clients and let everyone know, what are the possibilities on both sides of Medicare, the supplemental side or the Advantage side. And we inform everyone. So that conversation openly starts October 1st. And then anyone on Medicare can sign up for a Part D plan or a Medicare Advantage plan starting October 15th, which runs through December 7th. But I will tell y'all out there listening, do not wait until December 7th to call someone like me. We're tired at that point.
And probably a lot less able to give you really good customer service if you're calling on the last day.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all happy to help you, but my gosh, we're much more happy on October 1st.
So is that something we should be, like, if that's something we're having and we're going to call somebody like you, should we make that appointment? Like, should we think about that appointment, like, in September to make the appointment to start in October?
Oh my gosh, many of us in this industry, we will set our appointment that year that we see you for your review. We'll set it for the next year. And then we will also have educational events that are available on our websites.
Oh, cool.
So my educational events are listed on my website. Many of my colleagues across the country, their educational events are listed. Many of the companies also have educational events listed. And so if you want just the education piece and the information, so that you can make your own decisions and feel really fully equipped and empowered to understand Medicare and what is available to you, there are educational events everywhere across the country. So in my particular office, I start calling clients in May. And I say, okay, are you happy with your plan? Is there anything about your plan that you're looking forward to for next year? Do you need more dental? Would you need more doctors available to you? Do you have a certain hospital? Do you know that you're going to have a surgery next year? So that way I can kind of start putting people into different categories. So when I go to all of these conferences and I learn about all the plans, I'm thinking, oh, that works for Bobby Joe. That works for, this person. That works for John Doe. And I'm thinking of you while I'm in those classes going, I need to talk to them about this. This is going to make their life better this next year, maybe save them some money, maybe save them some time and offer some peace of mind, not only for them, but also for this younger generation that we're in, where we're that sandwich.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned a few different things, and I know there's like Part A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. Can you go a little bit into what the different parts of Medicare are and what they mean?
That is so funny. Yesterday, I had a conversation with a retirement home, and they said, Diane, can you come in and can you present it in a fun way? I said, well, I used to be a music teacher in a past life. I said, I will create Medicaraoke. And he said, what? What are you going to do? And I said, well, there's all these parts to Medicare. There's Part A, there's Part B, there's Part C, there's Part D. And he said, oh, how are we going to tell them apart? And I said, well, let me just tell you. I said, Part A is automatic. People think automatically you're going to get get that because you worked for it, and it covers your hospitals. And so you actually do have to claim it. And I can show you how to do that, and I can send that to you. Anyone that sells Medicare can show you exactly how to enroll and claim that. But one of the songs that I thought that would go with that one would be either Grease Lightning, where it starts with, it's automatic, it's
Yep.
systematic, and then people would know, oh, you've greased the wheels all of your life, so you've earned Part A, right? Well, then my
my
sweet
gosh.
husband, he said, oh, no, honey, you need to play Taking Care of Business every day. And I'm like, oh, that would be great for Part A, for Medicaraoke. So there's that Part A, and then Part B is it's one where you're looking at providers and you're looking at medical providers. Haven't really figured out exactly that song yet. And then Part C is one where you're combining A and B, and D is for drugs. Okay, that's easy to remember. That's your Part D plan. And then if you travel down that road where you had A, B, and D, some people add a supplement, and that's supplementing B, because B covers 80% of your medical, leaving 20%. That's why you would have a supplement to cover that 20%, because people think, oh, 20%, that's not bad, that's not a lot. Well, if you go to most hospitals and you have 3 stents put in your heart, it's $452,000.
Yikes.
20% of that's a lot.
And
Yeah.
then they run it through Medicare, and Medicare Part B, if you have it, brings it down to $140,000. Which then, if you don't have a supplement, or you don't have a Part C, which is an Advantage plan separate than the supplement, then you absorb that 20% of $140,000. You get a bill for $28,000. That's why you need to have a supplement, or you need to have an Advantage plan. And so many people say to me, well, Diane, I really like the supplement. And so many people say, well, Diane, I really like the Advantage plan. Mine's better. And seniors kind of argue about this. Mine's, if it works for you, that's what's better.
Right.
Yeah.
And so as a broker, which what I do, I represent as many companies as I possibly can, so that you can get, the person in front of me can get an unbiased opinion, and they get the education, and they can pick which one works best for them. And that's the better plan, better plan, the one that works best for that situation. But that's why we have open enrollment, because situations change.
Okay.
So on the podcast, we talk a lot about caregivers and the struggles that you're having with working with your loved one, especially your older adult loved ones. And one of the things that I think is really important that we do here is the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. And that's part of a federal program that helps people who live in long-term care. So here in Missouri, that's nursing homes, that's assisted living facilities, that's residential care facilities, and helps those folks make sure that their rights inside those facilities are being upheld, and helps them mediate issues that they might be having at a facility. So if you or your loved one are living in a long-term care community and having problems, calling Voices Ombudsman Program is the perfect right step. And you can do that by calling 314-918-8222. So what is the difference between original Medicare, having that A, B, D plus a supplement, versus Medicare Advantage? Why are we fighting? What's the difference?
This is why they call it C, Medicare Advantage. So the government will call one thing many different things.
Sure.
So we have Part C, Medicare Advantage, and that's what you're going to hear. Supplement is also called Medigap. So when you look at Part C, think of C as combination. You're combining A, your hospital, B, your doctors, D, your drugs, all into one plan. So what happens is the government has Part C, and they are funding money over to that program because they want the companies, the insurance companies, to be in charge of that program. They're managing the care. On the other side, with the supplement, you are really your own advocate at that point. you're the one that is in direct correlation with the government is sponsoring those plans, but you're the one that is managing. So what I try and tell seniors is think of it as if you have a supplement and part A and part B and part D. So you have a hospital, you have the medical, you have your drugs, and then you have your supplement. You are driving your car. And then you're adding other pieces into your car. You have to add your dental, you have to add your vision, you have to add those things. If you want over-the-counter items, you've got to add those yourself. So you're driving along in your car and you're adding them, you're tossing them out and you're adding them. But the other side is you're in the passenger side. The company is driving the car, and all of those things are already in your car.
Okay.
The dental, the vision, the hearing, the over the counter. And sometimes they change throughout the years, but they have those already in there.
Okay.
So including like the gym membership, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So
Great.
if that gives you a good visual of the
Yeah.
difference.
Definitely.
That makes it make a lot more sense. As to
Yeah.
what's going
So
on
my
there.
dad loved to drive his car. My mom was like, I'll be a passenger. Thank you very much.
Like you said, what works for one may not work for another, and I think that's the important thing that people take away is you got to find what's right for you.
Well, growing up, all I had to do was ask my mom's opinion on something and my dad's opinion on something. I'm like, I have the opinion of America.
Very good.
They always were opposite, but opposites attract.
There you go.
And they were married for over 50 years, so, it worked.
Now, if you're an adult caregiver for your parent, what do caregivers need to know to help their parents navigate this system and make the best choice?
Oh, I would say just start the conversation.
We love starting the conversation around here.
Because it is one, I want to commend everyone who is listening to this podcast, because I know that the two of you want to give everyone the information that they need to feel empowered, and to know that they're not alone, and when they're a caregiver, and to reach out and to know where to reach out.
So when we get that book for our parents, what should we be looking at? Like, what should we be talking to a broker about? What are those things that we gotta, like, when we finally go, okay, yeah, we need help. What should we be talking about? Should we be figuring out prescription drug coverage? Should we be bringing in all their pills, like the list of doctors? What do you need to know to do your job, I guess?
Most brokers are a one-stop shop.
Okay.
Most of us are, and most of us are trained on page 10, of the
Page
Medicare
10.
and your book. That's the only page you need. That's the side where you see, here's the Medicare Advantage side, and then here's the supplemental side. And a broker can take you through and say, okay, A, you earned it if you work the 44 quarters, and then the B, you're going to start at $185 it's going to come out of your Social Security. If you're a veteran, you might get more money back. If you're on Medicaid, you might have it all paid for. They'll know those nuances, and they'll be able to take you through the two sides and say, which side do you want?
Okay.
And so then,
That's step one.
Yeah, that
side?
is step one. Which side do you what fits you? Are you driving the car? Are you that person like my dad, or are you the passenger like my mom? Yeah, I'm along for the ride. So, you have to decide which one. What's your personality? And then the other thing is, as a broker, what we need is your doctors, and we need to know your dentist, and we need to know who you're going to see, who's your optometrist. We also need all your providers, and we need to know your medications. So the medication, the dosage, the frequency, as well as your favorite pharmacy.
Okay.
And then usually brokers have this wonderful AI tool, which is one where we put all that information in, and then all of the companies populate that we are actually licensed through in any zip code.
Wow.
So I happen to be in 28 states, not because I wanted to be, because my clients would say, Diane, my sister lives in, or my brother lives in, okay, I'll get the state, and so I can help families and that kind of thing. So it sounds like a lot, but it's not. But what I can do is I can go in and I can put the zip code and then all of the companies populate. So when I am either on Zoom with a client or in person with a client or on the phone with a client, I can actually show them what I'm looking at.
Oh, nice.
And share a screen and say, okay, this is what I'm seeing. This is why I'm recommending this to you. This is that. And then you kind of get down into the nitty gritty of the different nuances of the drug plans. Which one has an expanded formulary. So if they have a disease that might need more drugs, or more medications in the future, then you're looking at the right one to start with for the year. So there's not unexpected costs and that kind of thing. But again, those two items of all the doctors and providers and all the medications, that guides the conversation after you've chosen your side.
Gotcha. Okay.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot, but that's good to know.
Yeah.
For sure.
But you don't have to know all of those ins and outs. It's
'Cause you
just
do that.
yeah, because I do that, and so do the other brokers too.
Okay. We've picked our side. We've picked everything that we need. Now we've got Medicare in some way, shape, or form. I think there's a lot of things that people assume Medicare covers that it doesn't.
Yeah.
What are some of those things?
The gaps. Oh my gosh. Okay, so some of the big ones on the supplemental side, if you have not looked at covering hospital for the rehab. So right now we're still working on it. When I say we, it's the National Association of Benefits and Insurance Professionals, where we go to the state level and the federal level and every year, and we lobby for health care. So I've been involved with that organization for many years, and it's one where this particular issue has not been resolved. There's been some other ones that have kind of pushed it back, but it's one where if you have a supplement and you go to the hospital and you're in for observation, then it could be that it would be billed under Part B, and when you go to rehab, you would have to pay for the rehab out of your pocket. So we're trying to make sure that is not going to happen in the future, but it's millions of dollars as a result that are being paid. So that's a gap. The other one that is interesting in the Advantage plan, people think, oh, I'm going to be healthy. I only have to worry about my maximum out of pocket that I spend. And it's one where when you look at that side, you have got to really take a look at, do you want to spend that money out of your pocket when you go to the hospital, when you go to rehab? Do you want those copays? Do you want to pay the copays when you have the physical therapy? Do you want to pay the copay when you go to ride in the ambulance? Do you want to pay a copay when you have outpatient surgery? If the answer is no for someone, there is an insurance product that can cover those gaps, and it's called a hospital indemnity. And it's something that the government, when we're talking about Medicare, it's something that the government requires us to talk about.
Oh, wow.
So we have this called a scope when we meet with our clients for a Medicare appointment. And we have to ask them, do you want me to talk to you about, the supplement side, the Advantage side? And on there is hospital indemnity. And then another one is, do you want me to talk to you about dental and vision? We are not allowed to talk about life insurance when we have a Medicare appointment. We are not allowed to talk about long-term care insurance.
Oh, wow.
It's not on that scope. So the senior is directing what can be said in that appointment. They have the control, which a lot of seniors don't know this, but y'all are in control. You need to know. But on there, the government's saying, do talk about the hospital indemnity, because those gaps are ones that you will feel. And so if it's not easy to spend a couple $1,000s to meet your maximum, well, then spend a couple $100s and have a coverage for an insurance. Switch the risk over. The other one is home health care. That can be, one where you look at the book and you're like, oh my gosh, home health care, it's covered at 100%. No, it's covered at 100% of what they will pay. And they don't describe what they will pay.
Tricky.
And it's very tricky. And so that is an education piece when I meet with clients, and I'm like, well, this is what it really means. Typically in America, what you see is you see a 21-day episode for home health care. They're looking for someone at home that can be a caregiver. They're looking for you needing to get well and you needing physical therapy or maybe occupational therapy. And typically they'll send a nurse out to set up medications, and maybe the nurse comes out again, but you can't go anywhere. You're homebound, with those 21 days. So when mom said I went to, the grocery store, they kicked her off the next day. We were like, Mom, no.
And that reminds me of our conversation in season 1 with Vicki, delineating home care and that private duty. And so what Medicare will pay for is some of the home health stuff, the professional services, not the somebody to come and clean up after you, cook some meals. That's still on you and your family to figure that out.
Because typically what you'll see is it's a 28-minute visit from that physical therapist.
28 minutes. We got it down.
28 minutes. And
they need a minute to walk in and out of the door, I guess.
And they have to do their paperwork. And so it is one where you're not getting the meals, you're not getting the laundry, you're not getting the reminiscing therapy, you're not getting any of that happening. So it's one where most people want to be able to recover, and doing those things it's a trick.
Yeah.
Because even a bath aid, I tell everyone, you've heard of a unicorn, right? And then they're like, yeah. I'm like, have you ever seen one? No, that's the bath aid.
I don't think I've ever heard of one of those. They're a lovely person to have.
I know. Bath aids you get with hospice. And that's when you're not going to recover. So that's a whole different aspect.
Medicare will or will not pay for hospice?
So Medicare does cover hospice,
okay.
Yes. But hospice is one where you're not going to recover.
Yep.
So they agree, they being the hospitalist from the hospice company and your doctor agree that you could aspire, pass away in the next 6 months. That's what puts you on hospice. And the services are not there for you to get better. They're there to make sure that you are maintaining.
We just had a great conversation with Mike George about hospice and the ins and outs, and that could have been a supersized episode too.
Yeah,
I think. There's so much to learn in this area. That's the crazy thing.
It is, and I mean, for us as being in this area and to say that and to acknowledge that, I mean, we have to acknowledge the caregivers to let them know. If you don't know it, oh my gosh, y'all are doing great.
Now, will it pay for assisted living and skilled nursing long term?
No.
Okay.
No.
Say it again.
No.
Yeah.
Will not cover long-term care.
No.
Unless it's rehab.
So that is, you are so smart to say that, because people think, okay, no, you have 100 days, on your rehab. And that's, most people don't get that 100 days.
Yeah.
They usually are out in 20. So the first 20 days Medicare will cover in rehab, typically in most plans. And so what you're looking at, though, when it comes to long-term care, when they say you are going to need care for more than 90 days, that's the trigger.
Okay.
For long-term care. Short-term care means you need care now. And so there are short-term policies, home health care policies that you can get, and they're pennies on the dollar compared to a long-term care policy. But a long-term care policy is one where if you want to have your independence as long as possible, and you're financially able to achieve that, then it deserves a strong look and a conversation with a professional that has the ability to tell you all of your options. Because a lot of people will say, I'm never going to leave my home. Well, we don't plan on leaving our home,
Right.
but things happen,
Yeah.
that we don't plan on. And then you want to know, will it cover assisted living? Will it cover a nursing home? And no, the government will not pay for that. The government will pay if you are on Medicaid. You have spent down all of your assets to that state level. And then they will find you a placement within 100 miles of where you live originally.
Nice.
And so, yes, and this is happening currently right now to one of my clients and families that did not plan on long-term care, could not get long-term care, did not qualify for it. And so it is one where, yes, that's the way that the law works. So no, the government will not pay for assisted living and long-term care in a facility, or a memory home or adult daycare. They do not pay for that. And the reason why is because you got to give it to Uncle Sam. He's pretty smart. The propensity is that we're going to need it. So it would break us. We wouldn't have any Medicare or Social Security for people like me. They're going, I can't wait to have it.
Well, and at like $8,000 and more a month, it's big, it's expensive, and it's a long-term expense. And but yeah, I know we run into it voice all the time. People saying Medicare's supposed to cover this. It's like no, Medicaid does, but and that's where you've got to go back and listen to that article, the show we had with Paul Gantner, talking about your spend down and all of that, and if that's a good idea for you, protecting those assets and figuring that all out. But
Paul is amazing.
He's amazing. We've got so many cool professionals we get to work with. We're very excited.
He's fantastic. And what a wonderful reputation he has. Yeah.
So, okay, you've helped so many families. What's your favorite story about what you've been able to help somebody accomplish?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Oh, I'm stumped. Let me think. I usually think of the funny stories, more than anything else. But I'll tell you this one story. This is hilarious because I might put it in my upcoming book. I'm going to be in Unfiltered, which is a
sounds
book.
about right.
Oh, it's hilarious. There's going to be 25 women across the country. And one of a good friend now, Yola Asabaro, and also Linda Strong, they're also brokers, and they have compiled 25 women to be in this book, and it will be released. Probably by the time you hear this, it will have been out there. So check my website out for it. But one of the stories was I was driving down in southeast Missouri, and I was going from Perryville over to Farmington. This was years ago. I think I was young. It was before I had blonde hair to cover up my gray. And so I was young. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go see this family. They're trying to save their farm. He had 2 sons, and he was already in his 70s at that time. So he lived to be 92 before he went on care and went on long-term care. So my career started in long-term care insurance, and I was actually one of the national trainers for one of the largest long-term care companies. And so anyway, so I'm driving, and I'm in my little stick shift car. I think it was a Saturn at the time. And so in my little stick shift car, I look over to the right, and there's this house on a hill in this farm, and I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. Well, I drove past it. And then I said, oh, that's it. I'll just back up. Backed up, and now my car was teetering in between the ravine on the one side of the road that I didn't see and the other side of the road. So I'm juxtapositioning the road, right? And I'm teetering, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't go anywhere. I can't go anywhere. What am I going to do? Well, this man comes barreling out of the house down the hill, and he looks like Paul Bunyan, literally in the shirt, the whole thing, flannel shirt. And he comes over to the car, and I'm about almost in tears. And he just looks at me, and he is like this. And back then you roll down your window. And so I roll down my window, and he said, "Are you the insurance lady for long-term care insurance?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "I got one question for you." And I'm like, "Oh no." And he goes, "Do you sell insurance better than you drive?"
Oh, that's good.
So he hooked up my car to his truck. He got my car done. I went inside. This man made me a lunch, made me a sandwich, and he said, "Talk to my dad about long-term care. We need to save the farm. It needs to pass on to us."
Wow.
So I did, and the farm passed on to them.
Well, that's awesome.
So yeah, it was it was amazing.
And you never got stuck in a ravine again?
No, I never did.
Learning all around.
But they still tease me about that. That family, they still do. I mean, oh my gosh, the families in
That's not
Southeast
something you
Missouri.
get away with, and
No,
it comes back
no.
over and over.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And also, the family that I will tell you, one of the families that I always get a Christmas card from every single year. Love them. It was a horrible snowstorm, and it came on when I was at their house, and I ended up spending Christmas Eve at their house.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was like, "I'll make it back to St. Louis."
No, you won't.
They're like, "You're staying with us."
You're just part of the family now.
Oh my gosh, it was just nuts. Love them. They know who they are. Now I just meet people in my office.
Yeah, that makes it easier.
That's the best plan.
So if people are overwhelmed, and they just don't know where to start, what's the first step?
Oh my gosh, call me. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. So there's so many things you can do. Number one, sure, you can call me, but there's other people in this business, folks. There's so many of me's out there. I mean, I'm not original. So NABIP is a wonderful way.
Okay, and remind us who they are.
That's the National Association of Business and Insurance Professionals.
Okay.
And so you can find someone who is licensed in your area by going there. They have a national locator on that. And then there's many other organizations. Miss Medicare, I know it sounds silly.
Miss Medicare.
Miss Medicare, we all wear tiaras. We do once
I
a
love
year.
it.
And we all just tell each other how wonderful we are for doing this job.
have
Because, it's lonely out there. So, but that's an organization too. Women in Insurance and Financial Services is another wonderful organization. PWA here in St. Louis, the Professional Women's Association. There are women that do, what I do. And then the list goes on and on and on.
Are there licenses, seals of approval, things we should be looking at to make sure the broker or person we're going to is legit?
Yes. So you want to ask, you always want to ask anyone who ever calls on the phone, because people get calls all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
They need to say, "What's your NPN?" And that's your national producer number.
Okay.
So they need to, it just needs to flow right out of their mouth and have them tell you what that is. And that can screen calls really, really, really fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's a hot tip there.
yeah, it really does help because it will allow you to know you're talking to someone here in America and someone who's licensed, and that someone who has met all of the standards for that particular state. You can also say, what state are you with? There's a disclaimer that all of us use in the business. We put a disclaimer on all of our marketing materials that we might not represent all the companies in the area. If you do want to know more about the other companies, call 1-800-MEDICARE or go on to medicare.gov. Now, make sure that you're ready to wait if you call 1-800-MEDICARE or you call Social Security, but you can also call the state and that sort of thing. You can look up people on Google. Another way to do it for long-term care, There's one, this CLTC is a designation, and that's the Certified Long-Term Care designation. It is a intense class that you go through in order to sell long-term care insurance. And there are, in our state, you have to go through 13 to 16 hours more of credit in CEs. And so most people in our state every year, if they're not getting relicensed, they have to at least have 12 hours of the CE credit. Mine and others that are in organizations like the ones that I'm involved with, mine runs around 38 to 62 hours of
a lot of class.
CE every
My
year.
goodness.
I love to learn.
Yeah.
I do.
And that's why she knows all of it.
No, that's why I like to learn all of it. Learn and share.
Oh my goodness, Diane. I feel like I keep saying this season, but we could just talk for days. I think there's so much information. So I'm, for one, I'm really grateful that you came today and were able to share with us.
Yeah. And how can they connect with you if they're like, I really like this lady and I actually want to talk more to her?
Oh my gosh, I would be thrilled. Thank you. The best way is to connect with me on my website, which is www.dianeinsuranceSTL, like St. Louis.com. The other way is to reach out to my assistant, who I believe walks on water, Edith Voiles, and her number is 314-920-3990. And again, that's 314-920-3990. Text is always the best. And what we tell our clients is don't abuse this part. SOS us, because sometimes we'll turn our phones over and we'll see tons of calls. But if there's an SOS that comes in, that's who's getting our call first.
Okay.
Good to
Love
know.
that. Okay. Well, Diane, thank you so much for being here today and sharing all this knowledge with us. Good luck with your open enrollment season.
Thank
Yes.
you so much.
Good luck to all of our Sandwich Generation folks out there who will be navigating this over the next couple of months yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Diane.
Thank you so much.